When the sack shifted on his porch, Samuel Holt thought it was feed left by mistake, but then it breathed. He froze, one hand on the rifle slung across his shoulder. The lantern light caught a sliver of skin beneath the burlap, pale, dirt-streaked, trembling. He leaned closer, the boards creaking beneath his boots. "Do you believe me?" a voice rasped, muffled from inside, a girl's voice. Samuel pulled the sack back, and what stared up at him made his chest cave in. She couldn't have been more than 16, her lips cracked, her hair matted with blood and mud. Her eyes were wild, half pleading, half feral, like a cornered animal that still wanted to run. And in her hands, clutched so tight her knuckles whitened, was something wrapped in cloth. He didn't see it clear, but the way she held it, it was no ordinary bundle. He stumbled back, his throat dry. This wasn't supposed to be his life anymore, not after what happened in New Mexico, not after burying the past. The lantern hissed in the wind. Hours earlier, the ranch had been silent. Samuel's world was measured by cattle fences, the slow swing of a gate, the steady shuffle of hooves. He lived alone, by choice, because men who had lost enough didn't crave company. His wife gone in childbirth, his son buried before his first winter, his war record, something whispered about but never spoken of. Some men, the folks in town liked to mutter, carry storms with them. Samuel didn't argue. He just stayed away. But storms always find their way back. Now, on his porch, with the sack half open and this girl clinging to life, he felt that storm stirring again. She coughed, her whole body racking. Don't let them take it." Her eyes darted past him into the dark yard, toward the cottonwoods that swayed in the night wind. "Who?" Samuel asked, his voice low, reluctant. Her gaze fixed on him, sharp despite the fever glass sheen. "You'll see." For a long moment, the only sound was the lantern's hiss and the far-off bark of a coyote. Samuel's hand flexed around the rifle, torn between setting it down and raising it. Then, crunch. A sound in the yard, slow, measured, a boot grinding against gravel. Samuel swung his head toward the dark, heart thudding. Someone was out there. The girl's grip tightened on her bundle. Her lips moved again, barely a whisper. "Do you believe me?" And then, silence. A figure approaches from the darkness outside the porch. The crunch came again. Whoever was out there wasn't rushing, wasn't hiding. They wanted Samuel to know. He set the lantern down, eased the rifle into both hands. The girl's breathing rasped behind him, shallow but quick. He didn't dare take his eyes off the dark. "Step out," Samuel called, voice firm but low. "You're on my land." For a beat, only wind. Then a shadow broke loose from the tree line. A man. Broad-shouldered, hat pulled low, another form followed, and another, 3. Their outlines jagged in the lantern's glow. Samuel's jaw tightened. The girl on his porch had warned him. "Evenin' Holt," one of the men said, voice slick as oil. "Heard you keep to yourself these days." Samuel recognized him. Owen Kincaid, rancher on the South Ridge, a man who believed fear was cheaper than fences. "You left something here?" Samuel asked, careful. Kincaid's smile flickered in the dark. "That sack ain't yours. Best you hand it over." Behind Samuel, the girl coughed, a wet, rattling sound. He felt her words hanging in the air again. "Don't let them take it." He didn't turn, didn't move, just stared into Kincaid's grin. "What is it?" Samuel asked. Kincaid chuckled. "Nothing that concerns a man living on ghosts." The men shifted, spurs scraping. Samuel's finger brushed the trigger guard, but he didn't raise the rifle. The old weight in his chest returned. The war, the blood, the graves. He wasn't that man anymore. He swore he'd never be again. But then the girl's hand tugged at his sleeve, weak, shaking, but insistent. When he glanced down, her eyes burned through the fever. "Please," she whispered, barely air. "Don't give me back." The choice cut deep. Hand her over, and the men might leave. Keep her, and he invited the storm to his doorstep. "Storm's comin', Holt," Kincaid called, as though he could read the hesitation in him. "You don't want to be standing in it." The night pressed in, heavy. Samuel finally lowered the rifle, but not to surrender. He turned his body, stepped in front of the girl, blocking her from view. "You best ride on," he said, steady, though his pulse roared in his ears. "Ain't nothing here for you." A silence hung sharp as a blade. Then Kincaid's smile vanished. Wrong answer. Boots scuffed, spurs rang, the men moved closer. Samuel's grip tightened on the rifle. though he knew one gun against three wasn't odds he liked. The girl's whisper came again, so faint he almost missed it. "Do you believe me, now?" The men begin closing in on Samuel's porch. "You're making a mistake, Holt." Kincaid's boots thudded against the packed dirt as he mounted the first step of the porch. The boards creaked beneath his weight. "That girl ain't yours to keep." Samuel didn't flinch. "Ain't yours to take." For a breath, the two men locked eyes. Then, from the dark, one of Kincaid's riders spoke, voice edged with unease. "Boss, smoke." All three men turned slightly, nostrils flaring. On the night wind, faint but certain, came the scent of something burning. Samuel's gut nodded. Not his ranch, farther out, east, where the canyon cut through the valley. Kincaid's jaw twitched. "Damn it!" He spat into the dirt, then snapped at his men. "Check it, now!" The riders hesitated, glancing at the porch, at the girl half hidden behind Samuel. Kincaid growled, low and sharp, and they obeyed, spurring their horses into the dark, hoofbeats thundering off. The night fell quiet again, save for the crackle of distant fire. Kincaid stayed. His eyes narrowed on Samuel, then shifted to the girl. "You don't understand what you're holding. That bundle she's clutching, men'll kill whole towns for less." Samuel kept his stance firm, though curiosity gnawed at him. He hadn't seen what the girl carried, not fully, only a hint of cloth, edges dark-stained. The girl coughed, hunching tighter around it. Her voice rasped. "Don't trust him," Kincaid sneered. "Don't trust her, you mean? She ain't what she seems." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a cold murmur. "She's trouble born. Mark my word. You'll bleed for shelter in her." Samuel's grip on the rifle tightened. "Then I'll bleed on my porch, but I won't hand a child to wolves." The air between them bristled. For a long moment Samuel thought Kincaid might draw. His hand hovered at his holster, fingers twitching like they remembered gunfights better than prayers. But then, hoofbeats again. The riders returning. One of them shouted from the dark, "It's a camp, boss! Indian camp! Burnin' fast!" Kincaid's head snapped toward the sound, eyes narrowing. His jaw clenched. "Savages," he muttered. The girl behind Samuel shuddered, a sound half between a sob and a growl. Kincaid spat once more, then turned from the porch. "This ain't over, Holt. You keep her. You keep her cursed, too." He whistled sharp, calling his horse, and swung into the saddle. As the riders disappeared into the night, the yard fell still again. Only the girl's ragged breathing filled the silence. Samuel finally turned. He saw her eyes glistening, her arms wrapped around that mysterious bundle, as though it were the last ember of her soul. "Do you believe me?" she whispered again. Samuel swallowed hard. This time, he had no answer. The firelight from the east painted the horizon faint red, flickering against the window panes. Samuel sat across from her at the table, lantern low, rifle within reach. The girl hunched in the chair, small beneath his wife's old quilt, clutching that bundle tight to her chest. For a long while, neither spoke. The clock ticked loud, each second like a hammer in the silence. Finally, Samuel's voice broke it. "What's in there?" Her arms tightened around the cloth. "If I show you, you'll leave me." Samuel's jaw worked, but he said nothing. She studied him, eyes fever-bright, then asked in a voice so fragile it almost broke, "Do you believe me?" Samuel leaned back, weary. "Don't know what to believe, but I know fear when I see it." That seemed to loosen something in her. Slowly, carefully, she pulled the bundle into the lantern's glow and unfolded the edges. Samuel's breath caught. Inside lay a small leather-bound book, its cover charred at the corners, pages filled with pressed drawings, symbols, animals, the kind soldiers once marked as enemy sign. But the sketches were careful, reverent, a record, a history. Beside it, wrapped in hide, was something smaller, a necklace of bone and turquoise. "My father's," she whispered. "They killed him for keeping it. Said he was hiding lies. Said I was cursed too." Her voice cracked. Tears tracked through the dirt on her cheeks. "But this is truth. Our truth. Not war, not savagery, just who we are. If it burns, we vanish." Samuel stared at the book, the necklace, then at her trembling hands. He felt the weight of all he'd buried, his boy, his wife, the way people erased whole lives with a single word. Gone. His voice came out rough. "My son had a toy horse. Just a carving. Weren't worth a dime. But I buried it with him. World don't understand how small things can be, all that's left of someone. Her eyes lifted, wet and searching. You lost someone too. Samuel nodded once, the kind of nod that closes a wound rather than opens it. He pushed the book gently back toward her. Ain't my place to burn another man's memory. The girl's lips trembled. Then, in silence, she slid the necklace across the table toward him. Keep it safe. Until I can. For the first time in years, Samuel didn't feel the cabin as empty. But outside, through the thin glass, he thought he heard another sound. Hooves again. Closer this time. Not 3 men, more. A larger force approaches the ranch, and Samuel realizes the storm is far from over. The sound grew louder, more than horses this time. Voices carried on the wind, sharp, commanding. The girl flinched, clutching the book to her chest again. Samuel rose, rifle in hand, lantern dim. He moved to the window, parting the curtain just enough to see. Down the slope, a line of torches bobbed in the dark. 10, maybe 12 riders, armed, Kincaid at their head. Storm's here, Samuel muttered. The girl's eyes were wide, glistening. They'll kill me, and burn it. She lifted the book an inch, trembling. Do you believe me now? Samuel stared at her, the weight of every grave in his past pressing down. He could walk away, hand her over, watch the fire swallow her history, like it had swallowed his own family. But something in her voice, raw and breaking, bound him. He saw his boy's toy horse in her book, his wife's laughter in her trembling smile. He turned back to her. I believe you. The words steadied her. She nodded, tears slipping silent. Samuel blew out the lantern. Darkness cloaked the cabin. He moved fast, grabbing the girl's arm, pulling her toward the back door. Come on. They slipped into the night, boots soft on dry grass. The torches drew nearer, flickers of fire against the cottonwoods. Samuel led her through the fence line, down the arroyo where the shadows held thicker. Behind them, voices rose. Kincaid's bark cut sharp. Spread out! Find 'em! The girl stumbled, weak, clutching the book. Samuel caught her, steadied her. Just a little farther. They reached the old barn, half collapsed, roof gaping to the stars. Samuel shoved her inside, crouching low. From the doorway, he watched riders scatter across his land, torches bobbing like angry stars. The girl sank against a post, whispering prayers he didn't recognize. Samuel crouched beside her, rifle steady across his knees. He wasn't praying, he was waiting. Minutes dragged, then a rider passed close, torchlight spilling into the ruin. Samuel raised the rifle, finger on the trigger, then stopped. The man turned his horse away, torchlight vanishing. Samuel lowered the gun, chest heaving. He looked at the girl. She looked back, fragile but unbroken. At dawn, the riders were gone. Only trampled grass and cold ashes marked their hunt. Samuel sat on the barn step, rifle across his lap, watching the horizon turn gold. The girl lay curled inside, clutching the book. When the first light touched her face, she stirred and whispered, "Thank you." Samuel glanced at the necklace hanging heavy in his palm. For the first time in years, he let out a breath that felt like release. The past hadn't buried him, not yet. He looked east, where the sun burned away the night, and said quietly, "We'll keep it safe." Samuel standing outside the barn at sunrise, rifle in one hand, the turquoise necklace glinting in the other, the girl behind him in shadow, but alive.